So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Good morning again, everybody. Like we said, I'm Brian. I'm with the School Safety Center and appreciate the opportunity. Kelly had reached out. She and I had some conversations about some project management that we do, obviously along therapy dogs, but also the depth of what we do. So she asked if I would give a quick kind of overview into kind of who we are, what we do, and a little bit into the therapy dog project management side of things. So we will go ahead and jump right into kind of who the OSSC is. So we've actually started back in 2019 as Governor DeWine's initiative that actually created the School Safety Center. The most common thing on this people say is 2019, 2024. Why are we just learning about you? A lot of that, obviously, COVID. I didn't come on board until 2 years ago. And at the time, I was one of 5 liaisons. We've grown significantly since then to where we have 16 liaisons now. And we'll kind of get into the depth of our team here in a moment. But from day one, our goal and mission has stayed pretty standard, and that's to assist the local schools and first responders in preventing, preparing for, and responding to threats and acts of violence, including self-harm, through a holistic, solution-based approach to improving school safety. That's a lot. What does that mean? The governor's office really challenged our office and said, think broad, think big, think all aspects of school safety. Most commonly, when people think school safety, they instantly think windows, doors, cameras, metal detectors, things of the physical nature. But he said, look at the broad spectrum, look at the culture and climate that they have, look at the prevention efforts that they have, the mental health supports that they have, the partnerships, making sure they're trauma-informed care, that they're culturally aware as well, and really having that relationship based in the community. That's kind of where my role as liaison comes on, is building those partnerships, building those resources among schools to kind of bring it all together. And they've actually done a phenomenal job of building a very diverse group of team members for us. Like I said, when I started, I was one of 5 liaisons, but our team as a whole, we've grown to, I think our total staff in-house now is 53, 16 of those being liaisons. And background on myself, I come from the law enforcement, fire and EMS, corrections and security threat group coordination, and spent 18 years with the mental health addiction services as law enforcement and safety director of a facility for them. So then they've really brought on some additional staff, such as we have teachers, counselors, school bus transportation directors, drugs, narcotics, public reform, military, law enforcement. So they've really broadened the group of expertise to be able to support the schools. And kind of 2 misconceptions that a lot of people have about us is they instantly think state of Ohio, Department of Public Safety. They think governmental regulatory compliance. And that's the complete opposite of what we were designed to do. If you think about Department of Education and State Patrol to the left, we are completely on the right. We were built solely to support the schools. So we're never going to go into a school and tell them what they're doing right, wrong, or indifferent. We'll offer them a lot of opportunities for improvement and recommendations based on those best practices that are out there. And we're always going to come in by invitation only. We're never going to show up at the front door and say, hey, here's an inspection. It's just not what we were built to do. And the second kind of misconception is with the depth of resources that we offer, they instantly think, okay, what's the catch? What's the cost? And 99.9% of what we offer is completely free, covered by the governor's office. And I say 99.9 because there's that 0.1% of specialized training. When you get into the House Bill 99, when it deals with arming teachers, that's a specialized training that our mobile training officers offer. There's an overhead cost of that. So they do charge for that. But that is, to my knowledge, the only thing within our resource library and training curriculum and platform that we even charge for. So everything else is completely covered by the governor's office. We are broken into 3 sections. Policy and compliance, that's going to be the most common people that a lot of schools know about. They have a safety planner that oversees all of the documentation that they put into the OHID system, whether it be an emergency operations plan, site plan, emergency contact, anything dealing with the day-to-day operations of the compliance factor for Department of Education. They're kind of like the checks and balances for them to make sure that they're compliant for ODE. So they have a safety planner that's assigned to them. So every region, every zone, which we'll talk about that here in a moment, has a safety planner that's assigned to them, kind of a counterpart to the people that work in the field. So for my region, it's myself as a liaison. I work alongside a mobile training officer, and then we have a safety planner, and then we have a manager that oversees us. They do a lot of security vulnerability assessments. That's truly looking at the building and operation of a school, giving them those opportunities for improvement. That's become more and more of a foundational document for a lot of the grant opportunities. And then we have grant coordination within our office as well to be able to coordinate that with some of the schools, helping them understand what's out there, what's available, and how to navigate and troubleshoot that. Safety and crisis, that's the division that I fall into along with the mobile training officers. And the best way to describe what I do is I'm kind of tasked with the resource, the partnership building, assisting the schools, the relationship based, making community partners, helping schools understand what's available in their own backyard, which we often find out is kind of limited in some areas when they're looking for resources. And as my manager likes to say, is kind of the difference between the mobile training officers and myself is the liaisons. We're kind of like the fluffy, good stuff when you get into mental health and things of that nature. The mobile training officers, they are more the physical response and emergency response in schools. So they're going to come into the school, help them with training geared towards active aggressors, the emergency preparedness, things of that nature, helping the planners do the security vulnerability assessment. So they're more on the response side, and I'm more on the prevention and relationship building side of things. The education and support services, that's truly where a lot of our outreach comes from, our campaigns, our community events. We have a student initiatives coordinator that oversees 16 current for this year, 13 from last year, high school seniors or juniors that sign up to be part of the OSSC. They give us a look at what they need from a peer-to-peer level. They identify a capstone project and they present that during our school safety summit. And what it truly does, even outside of them giving kind of that glimpse of what they need on a student perspective, is it really develops a lot of leadership and growth opportunities for those students as they serve with us. So they come on board on 1 year term, but the last 13 from last year, 13 out of 16 came back again to be a mentor for the current group. So we have about 29 high school juniors and seniors that are currently involved in that. And they, like I said, they identify a capstone project. That's something near and dear to them. Some choose mental health supports and things of that nature. Some choose the bullying resources. So we're very thankful to have them on board with us as well. We do a lot of project management. We'll talk about the therapy dog project here in a moment. But outside of that, we have school resource officer training academy for any professional that's working inside the school on the safety realm. We have buddy benches that we're rolling out as an initiative to kind of combat some of that social isolation and bullying within the schools. So we truly do a lot of project management. And that's also where a lot of the student council comes into play, is with that project management. If we're doing project management on ABC, but they're looking at their peers saying, we don't need ABC, we need more mental health supports, we need more anti-bullying campaigns, things of that nature, we're going to shift some of those efforts to what they're seeing on a peer-to-peer level. Governor's Working Group is also kind of encapsulated into the education support services. What that is a group of individuals. I think there's 60 or 70 of those individuals that serve with the governor's office in different realms of emergency preparedness, legislative background, professional backgrounds, to be able to provide some insight into what's going on in the governor's office, because he's very connected to the school safety center. He stays very involved with us. He wants to know what we're seeing on the school perspective, where the gaps are, how do we fill those gaps, and they really connect us a lot on the legislation that comes out of his office, so that way we kind of align with the mission and take that out across the state of Ohio as a whole. And this is truly the education is a lot of where our trainings come out of, our free trainings. We're constantly offering free trainings. Like Melissa said earlier, we are getting ready to roll one out upcoming in June for her folks dealing with the National Threat Evaluation and Reporting. We have, I think, 6 opportunities in the next 2 months of different trainings that are coming out, a lot in the realm of threat assessment. But we also, the liaisons, we are trained in suicide prevention in the QPR. We are trained in 2 aspects of the threat assessment with the INTER and CSTAG model. And they just added CPR first aid and AED training to our platform of offering that we're going to be able to roll out. And that's on top of the mobile training officers, what they offer on the emergency response side of things. So a lot on the training aspect coming out of that group. Safer Ohio tip line. This is a free tip line that the governor's office has put out across the state. The great thing behind this is it's 24/7 availability to either call, text, and now they just added a application for your phone as well to be able to anonymously report anything dealing with school safety. Could be any of those items: bullying, self-harm, threats of violence, substance abuse, truly anything that somebody gears and identifies as a threat or potential threat. We handle the coordination with the school and first responders where appropriate. Completely free resource. All the marketing materials that go hand in hand with that is completely free. Kind of helps break down that barrier of, well, if I tell or speak up, I'm going to get that retaliation. Proactive social media scanning, that's something our data analysts do within our unit. And their goal really is look at anything that could potentially be a threat towards a K through 12 school. They look at the open source public information. You see some examples on the screen there of things that would flag within our system. Anything that flags within our system is looked at on context, severity, and notification. I say context first and foremost because not everything that comes through that system is a threat. School sports is a prime example of that. If somebody goes on there and says, we play XYZ football team, we're going to kill them. Fortunately, there's no threat to kill. Unfortunately, poor choice of words. So our data analysts are going to take a look and they handle that coordination with the first responders in school because the goal is to get that early identification, recognition, and response to be able to get somebody off the pathway to violence, get that intervention, offer them some supports to get them some help. School Safety Summit. This is something else that we do on a free level. This is coming up on July 31st and August 1st. If you've never been to this, I would highly recommend it. It is always currently held at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. We have a bunch of keynotes. We have a couple keynote speakers and a bunch of breakout sessions. Kelly is actually presenting at that this upcoming summit. So we're glad to have you on board for that. And then we have an exhibit hall. So there's just truly a lot of information, a lot of networking opportunities out of that. So like I said, if you've never been there, I would highly recommend taking advantage of it. So when you're looking at kind of how we break down as a unit, we talked about a 4-zone system with 16 regions. So the map on the right, that's going to be our 4-zone system. Those 4 zones then are broken up into 16 regions, which align with the Department of Education Workforce's 16 support teams. So they placed a team of us with those support teams. So Region 1 would be Support Team 1. Region 2 would be Support Team 2. And they placed a liaison and a mobile training officer team with each of those regions. So I cover Region 1. So that is the counties up in the northwest corner, the 13 counties up there. And then each one of the other regions have a liaison and mobile training officer, and each one of our 4 zones is overseen by a zone manager. This is a snapshot of our website. Highly recommend, if you've not taken a look at our website, take a look at it. All of the resources on there meet a criteria of evidence-based best practices by Ohio law to be placed on there. So you're not going to find a lot of resources just kind of dumped on there just because they're a resource. And we'll talk about the school facility dogs here in a moment. If you're ever looking at our website and you can't find a resource that you're looking for, by all means, reach out to me. Let me know what you're looking for, or your regional team if you're familiar with them. I'll share their contact information here in a moment so we can kind of help guide you to get the resources that you're looking for. If it's truly a resource that we don't have, we have depth within our team and our education department to go out, find those resources, make sure it meets the evidence-based best practice, and then we'll roll it out to you and put it onto our website. So it's truly, our website is ever-changing. The newsletter, this is going to be on our homepage. You're going to see that blue box there at the bottom of our website. That's going to give you the availability to sign up for the newsletter, some of the alerts dealing with safety security, some of the cyber alerts. High benefit in signing up for this. If you're not, when those swatting phone calls went across the state of Ohio, they used this distribution list to be able to put that out as a safety and security bulletin. So highly recommend taking advantage of that. This is also on our homepage. This is our calendar of events. It's going to show some of those partnership events, awareness weeks, trainings, webinars, grant due dates. Like I said before, we offer a ton of different free trainings. If you're ever looking for a particular training and you want to put it out on a regional level, let us know. We can bring the training to you. I always say all we need is a venue and an audience and a time and place. We'll take care of pulling in some of the partnerships to be able to offer that training for you. We do operate locally, state, and federal. So we have a lot of different partnerships that we can bring in. And we're actually having conversations now about possibly bringing a regional youth summit to the northwest corner with some partnerships with Homeland Security and the DEA. So a lot of great things happening on the training aspect. Of course, on the social media side of things, we're active on all the different platforms. You can follow us on them. The QR code there, I'll give you a moment here to kind of take a look at that QR code, scan it with your phone if you'd like. That will take you to a map of our regional staff. So that way, if you're looking to find out who your regional team is, go to that site, look on the interactive map, click on it. It will give you a drop-down map of all the different, the liaison, the mobile training officer, regional manager, and the safety planner that is assigned to your particular region. And my contact information is down there in the bottom corner. So that is kind of the high level overview and kind of who we are on the school safety center side. So before we jump into the therapy dog side on kind of the resources we built there, any questions? I know it's almost an informational overload.
No, that was great, Brian. I really appreciated that. I did want to go back to, I forgot the name of it, but with the high school seniors, the capstone project. I had never heard of that again. How do the students reach out to you? Is there an application process? Is this all across the state? I mean, can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like? Because that sounds like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, there is an application process. I believe it's either going on currently or it just ended. One of those two, where they're looking at and they're starting to interview some upcoming juniors and seniors to be able to take over for the next school year. And I can find a link for that as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Done.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it is through an interview process. They'll interview with the state, and then obviously work very closely with the governor's office as well.
What a great opportunity. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys. I mean, and most of us work with students in one way or another. So what a neat thing to be able to offer the students, and great experience for them too. That's
Yep, and
awesome.
of those 16 that they put on every year, the students are actually, they try to place a student council member into each one of our regions through their selection process where possible. And I can honestly say, of the students we've had in the past and the current ones we've had, they are truly amazing.
I bet. Very neat. Thank you. Yeah, that was a great overview. Anybody else have any questions before Brian continues? All right.
I know I promised Kelly I would keep it short.
Oh, no, take as much time as you need. We're good. Thanks.
All good? No questions? All right, so we'll jump into kind of how Kelly and I first met. When I started with the School Safety Center, I've been with the School Safety Center now for 2 years. One of the projects out of the project management side of things, we talked earlier about, we do a lot of project management. There was a current project that was going on geared towards school facility dogs. And the staff member that was kind of heading up that project at the time kind of had some conflicts with scheduling and needed some help with it. So they said, do you mind taking on this project for me? I'm like, sure. If you would have asked me when I started 2 years ago with my current role in the state, if I would be getting paid to handle school facility dogs and talk to people about dogs and their processes and the research and evidence base behind it, I would have been like, you're lying. But here I am. So it's been a great journey through the School Safety Center School Facility Dog Project. And I'll kind of give you a breakdown of kind of how we came about that project. The initial project, I think, was their goal was to offer grant funding throughout the state for schools to get dogs. There were some budgetary items on the state side of things that didn't make the budget, unfortunately. So they asked me to repurpose the project and say, identify some resources, some supports on how school facility dogs and therapy dogs work, how they differ, what their purpose is, what the research behind it is, and make some connections throughout the state. So over the course of a year, which went by extremely fast, we had the opportunity to meet a lot of great partners that kind of stepped up in the project and really gave us a good resource base behind the project. So this is a snapshot of our homepage. And as you can see there, the school facility and therapy dog tile. So if you click on that, that's going to take you to the resources that we built. And what we did first and foremost with the school facility dog kind of project is we wanted to break down what a facility dog is, what a therapy dog is, and what a canine dog is, and kind of how they differ. Because the misconception a lot of people have is that a therapy dog is a facility dog and all the dogs are a canine dog on the law enforcement side, and that's completely different. There's law enforcement dogs that are truly therapy dogs. There's truly law enforcement dogs that are your drug sniffing, law enforcement side of things, and then there's school facility dogs. And so we broke down kind of some of the myths behind that, and then we truly looked at, okay, now we know what they are, but now we need to figure out partnerships on how schools can obtain a dog or get information on the dogs that they're looking at. So we broke down a very in-depth library of different partnerships. We opted to stay with the ADI, Assistance Dogs International. It's kind of the foundational basis of what a facility dog is, because that's an accredited agency that really has a foundational basis of how those dogs work. So those first agencies that are listed there, that is all the partnerships of ADI agencies throughout the state that have stepped up and said, yes, we want to partner. Paws with the Cause is an organization that's out of Michigan that services Ohio. And they actually have private funding agencies and private donors that fund a lot of the dogs that come out of them for schools that are unable to afford them. And then we added in the Franklin County Sheriff's Department that deals on the law enforcement side, but they deal with the law enforcement side for therapy dogs, not canines, but the therapy side of dogs. So they came on board as a partner with us to be able to relate and kind of connect some of those law enforcement partners that we have with therapy dogs. And if you were to click on some of the tiles here, it's going to give you an overview into kind of what that agency offers. If they offer some grants, kind of who their contact is, some of the success stories that they have, and if they offer a proactive or crisis response network. So then we took it from a next step of, okay, these are agencies that offer the dogs. What if a school doesn't want or doesn't have the ability to be able to afford a dog? So we talked grant partnerships with the agencies, and then we kind of broke down some more resources on the support and crisis side of things and said, okay, a school can't afford a dog, or their administration may not want it, but in times of crisis or times of the culture where they may have high anxiety amongst the students, they want a therapy dog to come in or a school facility dog to come in. So these are agencies that we partnered with to be able to offer either therapy dogs on call per se, or therapy dogs or school facility dogs on a crisis response. And that's where the canine crisis response comes in. They are nationwide crisis response dog that is trained in crisis response that come to schools on the proactive side as well as the response side. And then pet partners and pets in the classroom, dogs in the classroom, they offer a lot of grant opportunities as well. So we kind of layered that from agencies on getting a dog to I can't afford a dog, or I don't want a dog, but I want them when I need them, to the support side. And then we backed up all of that with our research and standards. They all came on board as an additional resource because, like I indicated before, in order to go onto our website, there has to be an evidence-based best practice behind what we do and how we do it to be able to put it onto our website. So these agencies really stepped up and set that standard for us to be able to offer it as a resource. So that was kind of phase one of the project. So then we said, okay, phase one's done. Now what do we do? And we opted to go for a phase two, which is currently where we're at now, which is geared towards a video series. And that video series is truly going to be kind of a walkthrough on what a therapy and facility dog is, how that process works, some of those pre-placement considerations, post-placement considerations, and highlighting some of those dogs that are currently working in the field to be able to walk an administrator or someone in the community through the process so they can learn and become educated a little bit more on what the role of a facility dog is inside of a school. So that is currently where our second phase of the project is. And a phase three has just been approved prior to phase two really being completed. I can't say a whole lot about phase three right now until we kind of work on it, but I can honestly say phase three, if it gets brought to fruition, will be great, because my goal has always been from the start of the project to be able to offer some type of response network within the state of Ohio. So that's truly where the phase three is at, is focused on, okay, now we have the resources, we have the support, but what do we offer on the response side of things if a school needs it? So that's kind of where phase three is headed. It's in the early phases right now. I don't know if it'll be approved or not, but we are currently working on that with some of our partnerships to be able to see what we can come up with a proposal for the governor's office. So that's kind of the quick snapshot of the therapy dogs. And if you look up here at the top where this download is, that will actually take you to a two-page document that highlights a high-level overview into all the partnerships and resources that we built for the school facility and therapy dog network.